And now to revisit our top story tonight, and the Supreme Court has concluded its hearings on the presidential election petition, and judges retreated to write their verdict that will be rendered on Monday. Chief Justice Martha Koome said the exact time of delivering the judgment will be communicated, even as she asked Kenyans to pray for the apex court judges to render a decision that promotes the Constitution and nurtures democracy in the country. Now, the judgment, whichever way the judges decide, will determine whether President-elect William Ruto's victory will be upheld, paving way for his swearing in, or its nullification, taking the electorate back to the ballot in 60 days. Francis Kashuri now reports on the 9 key issues for determination by the country's top judges as they retreat to write a judgment.
Chief Justice Martha Koome and her 6 colleagues in the Supreme Court were for the third day treated to a legal showdown, pitting legal teams representing petitioners contesting the 2022 presidential poll outcome against lawyers in defense of William Ruto's declaration as president-elect by IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati 18 days ago at the Bomas of Kenya. The petitioners had their day in court on Wednesday. The respondents fired back yesterday, and today was set aside for rejoinders and deliberations on audits ordered by the court.
We thank you most sincerely for all the time and effort that you have put, and your patience, and putting up with some of our not very honorable conduct. We apologize for that, and we wish you good deliberations.
These things happen, and there really wasn't bad manners. We thank you for working within the very strict timelines that we gave you.
Attention now shifting to the 7 Supreme Court judges as they retreat to pen their judgment. Koome and her colleagues had distilled the 9 key issues for determination in the 2022 presidential election petition. The key question that judges will be expected to answer is on election technology deployed by IEBC to conduct the 2022 State House race, and whether it met the standards of integrity, verifiability, security and transparency to guarantee accurate and verifiable results. With results transmission from the 46,229 polling stations to the IEBC portal forming a substantial part of the submissions by the legal teams, Koome and her 6 colleagues will determine whether there was interference with uploading and transmission of Forms 34A that were used to enter presidential election results at the polling stations. Closely tied to this, the judges will also rule on whether there were differences in forms uploaded onto the IEBC portal by presiding officers in the polling stations with copies of the results declaration forms given to agents of the 4 presidential candidates. The judges will also determine whether the forms uploaded on the IEBC portal were similar to the physical documents submitted to the National Tallying Center at the Bomas of Kenya by returning officers, alongside Forms 34B that were used to tabulate results at the constituency level. Another key issue for determination by the judges is whether the postponement of gubernatorial elections in Kakamega and Mombasa counties on the eve of the general election was a deliberate plan to suppress voter turnout, and whether Azimio la Umoja One Kenya presidential candidate Raila Odinga was disadvantaged by the decision that also affected parliamentary races in Rongai, Kacheliba, Kitui Rural and Pokot South constituencies, as well as MCA polls in Kwanjenga and Nyaki westwards. On the conduct of the August 9th presidential election, the Supreme Court judges will be expected to determine if there were unexplained differences between the number of votes garnered by the 4 presidential candidates and those received by candidates contesting for other 5 elective positions. The verification, tallying and declaration of presidential election results at the Bomas of Kenya is also among the issues for determination by the judges. They are expected to determine whether the exercise complied with Articles 138C of the Constitution and 138(10) of the Constitution. Whether President-elect William Ruto met the constitutional threshold that requires a winning presidential candidate to gather more than half of the votes cast and at least 25% in 24 counties is also a key issue for determination by the judges. They will also ascertain if there were illegalities and irregularities in the August 9th presidential race and whether they were grave enough to affect the final election outcome.
You have helped us with the more difficult part, but it is intense. for which reason, therefore, we ask you that you pray to whatever God you pray to, that God will assist us to continue in the spirit we've been in for the last 1 year, and that we shall have a very high sense of discernment, and that we shall return to Kenya a judgment not less than what Kenya expects.
Should the judges find no merit in the petition, they will affirm Ruto's election and set the stage for his swearing in as the country's 5th president on 13th of September. And should they allow the petition, Ruto's declaration as president-elect will be nullified and a repeat State House race conducted within 60 days.
And we continue to ask, like the Vice President has said, that you continue to pray for us so that we can render judgment that promotes our constitution, that is anchored in the law, that nurtures our democracy, that brings harmony to our country, and everything good that is stated in our constitution.
Koome said the exact time on Monday for delivering the judgment will be communicated. For now, it is an anxious weekend for Odinga, Ruto, their lawyers, supporters and the country at large, with all eyes and ears on Koome and the Supreme Court judges as they retreat to pen what is a consequential verdict on the 2022 presidential race. Francis Gashuri, Citizen TV.